You've dedicated a tremendous amount of resources, emotional, spiritual, mental resources to this topic, Faces of Fortitude. This project you began in October of 2017. Just so our audience knows, in an effort to create and encourage cross-trauma sharing and healing within the suicide loss and attempt and first responder communities, you created Forces of Fortitude. And these are beautiful portraits that have captured moments of immense grief and loss, as well as rays of light and discoveries of hope that once were feared would never return. Talk to us a little bit about Faces of Fortitude and where we can see it, how we can spend time in that space.
So I'm a trained producer, like you said at the beginning, and I was working at a production company as a producer, and a woman came in to give a talk for an event we were having, and she was a photographer and she was a wounded war vet, and she had started a project called Veterans Portrait Project, and she basically started in the VA hospital when she was wounded, taking photos of wounded war vets. And she talked about how using creativity to create a project or something to help yourself heal can also help other people heal. And so I had become her friend. I was her line producer at that time, and helping her with students and things. And we had talked after, and I was like, I had a light bulb, and I was like, maybe I could do this. And I had a 10-year-old Nikon in the closet. I recently just updated that, by the way. I was using a really old camera that was gifted to me. It was 10 years old in 2017, to be clear. So it's even older now. And I didn't know how to, I was a mom that took pictures of their daughter. You know what I mean? I wasn't a photographer. And so I decided I was going to try it. And she looked at me and said, "This is important. This space is needed. You should do it." And then immediately the imposter syndrome came up, and I was like, my camera's old. I don't know how to light. I don't have space. And she looked right at me and she goes, "Sounds like you got a lot of excuses."
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, like I was definitely a Homer in the bush, like, disappearing. And I felt as though I wasn't prepared to be in this space, but I tried it. So I was at a studio, I was a producer. So I had studio space at thankfully they let me use it. Very kind, Creative Live, and Chase Jarvis is my mentor in many ways as a photographer. And I sat by myself in a studio for 2 hours, and I had my camera on a tripod and I had a remote, and I sat in front of that camera and I said the words that were inside of my head about my experience, about my story out loud to myself, because I was trying to capture my emotions during my story, because that's my work. Is I want to show people what grief looks like at different stages, because we're all at different places. And I got it after about 2 hours. I got the shot. And this was at a time in my life that I hated photos of myself. I was very insecure. I had no self-esteem. And so it was hard. It was really emotionally hard for me. And I ended up getting the shot, and I put it on Instagram with my story, and it exploded. And people were in my inbox immediately. "Share my story. I want you to take my picture." And I was like, whoa, it exploded very quickly. And I quickly realized I needed to get better. So I took a few YouTube classes and taught myself how to take photos. I taught myself how to edit, and I taught myself how to do social media and marketing. And it went on, it flew. And then it started to get really serious and really heavy really quickly. I had to put some boundaries in. But what I realized is, whether you're grieving 5 years ago or 35 years, which I've photographed all of the in between, I have the same, everyone comes in the same way. I'm so nervous. I don't know if I'm going to have anything to share. I don't know if I'll show the right emotions that you want. And every session is the same. I sit and I share my story first, because I think what people aren't realizing about trauma and our healing generation, and we're in our healing era right now, is what people would say probably, is that people are much more likely to feel safe with you and share with you if they know that you can go to those places too. And so I always share first. And what that has brought me in my photography is a lot of people that have trusted my space with the most painful moments in their life. And I cherish that. Um, it's the project has taught me that there is so much light in death,